Hello everyone, Mike Levin. Wednesday, August 16th, 2017, around 9 a.m. And you can just barely see the Empire State Building. There it is. You can see its spire. And so this morning, I guess one of the things I'm doing is I'm sort of laying down the layers of the outline of a book I plan on doing. And I tweeted a short one-tweet outline if I had to summarize it. And I think I might have to condense the ambitiousness of any sort of book endeavors I do, because I've tried to start them many times in the past and it always piddles out. But I'm quite good at spinning out an essay or two real quick. Not real quick, well, the first draft real quick, which can become sort of a daily journal post, which I'm doing on medium.com, or maybe just a brief thought, which goes into Twitter, or a slightly more expanded thought of the kind that Seth Godin seems to have committed to, rather than writing long articles, because he publishes his books and he makes you pay for his organized and edited and researched and supported thoughts. So there does seem to be some sort of split between the kind of stuff you can just spew off real time as you're living, and the stuff that you actually take a little bit of time to edit and to put together and turn into a packaged, planned experience. Now there's tons of ways to do that these days so that it'll make you money. It can be in a book still. That's a publishing model that actually still works. Self-publish on Amazon, get your cut. You could also do it on by publishing an app, right? If you make an app that does something, right? You think of some idea, that would be a good app. You make it. You pop it into the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, and a lot of people are pursuing these various paths to success. Many of them predate the rise of the internet, and they became well-known celebrities in the days when old school book publishing was really a thing. And as much as Seth Godin's path through life was, or during his successful years, was guided by the fact that he put out a print directory of the internet, a phone book of the internet, while Yahoo was making the online version, and then he followed up with several successful acts that right-size the level at which he should achieve. There's so many other people who are like that. They were there during the action, and they weren't the actual one who became the world's new emperors, like the Google guys and Zuckerberg and those folks, but they became a little more than on the sidelines observers. They made key apps that people use that inevitably had to be bought up by other companies. I forget the name of the guy, but the one who did Instapaper. And Instapaper, I believe, was bought by Pinterest, which is another one. It's the app that creates its whole own ecosystem and fights off being yet another media acquisition target, being gobbled up by the handful of companies who have to carefully avoid either buying each other up and becoming a monopoly in a particular place in the industry. Like the government will stop any single phone company or cable company or internet provider from becoming the global only source for that stuff. And that is the prevention of integration at the horizontal level to monopoly bust. But there's also integration on the vertical that many companies are fighting to achieve, like control of the very hardware up through the media that's produced and delivered to it, and the payment systems by which you're getting all your digital media, and even all the capacity and logistics capabilities it takes to do hard goods, such as Amazon does. And there's many ways that this gets blended and remixed into different scenarios, because each of these companies has their own best core competencies. Like Google knows its data centers, and Apple knows its hardware and tightly integrated top quality experience, because the iPhone experience is better than Android. I got to get back on Android in order to see how true that still is, because I like to give it a chance. There's a whole platform discussion I'd like to do there too. I love the Note platform. I look forward to the Note 8, but I really should get to know the Pixel platform from Google, the recommended Android specification, and they're almost up to the Pixel 2, and that's like a $600 piece of hardware, and the Note's going to be probably a $600 piece of hardware without being offset by a plan. These Kindles are $50. So I'm on this as one of my hardware platforms, and so now of course I want to surpass the Amazon limited ecosystem. They apparently don't include a lot of stuff on the Kindle that's on normal Android platforms, because Amazon is avoiding paying the licensing fees to have the Google services and the Google ecosystem on the Android device. So even though you can just install Chrome on this thing, you can't log into your Chrome account and get your bookmarks unless you also install the Google services that support that. So I'm going to be doing that, and I generally avoid that kind of thing because your hardware should just do what you want it to do, which gets to one of those eternal issues, fundamental issues. You can push complexity and you can push cost around. Cost can be pushed over to the advertisers who help offset the cost of your thing, your hardware, to the extent that they can do that without being accused of like hardware dumping or something, commodity dumping. Happened with memory chips, it's a real thing. But Amazon's getting the cost of the media consumption device down so low that it's totally razor blade business model. Give them the razor for free, sell them the razor blades. And you'd think in so many cases, oh, that's limited because you can only deliver digital goods. Well, not when you're Amazon. So these battles for the vertical integration is tremendously fierce. The battle for the control of people's buy-in and commitment and switching pain. It's not like you're necessarily buying in like you're the citizen of one of these ecosystems, but sooner or later you find yourself in that position. All your music is on iTunes, while all your books are on Amazon. So what are you going to do? Is it ever one grand unified thing? Well, probably not, because breaking up the competition. Google and Facebook will probably never buy each other because the government would step in. So you've got to expect a certain amount of fragmentation, and always place in the picture then for API-driven intermediaries, custom search things that is more than just web search. It's hitting against various databases and data sources and feeds, and also the ability to crawl, to do some exploration, so that things like comparison and meta engines always will have some place or some picture, but it'll never be as fine of an experience as the people who are knitting it together, proprietary, top to bottom, will be able to provide. The way Siri integrates with the Apple hardware, the way Alexa works so well on Amazon hardware, and that's where it's going to be. You're going to see the duking it out lifestyle. Web browsers are even optional, as Amazon gloriously demonstrates with products such as Alexa. It's time to adjust my view of the field of search engine optimization to broaden it to encompass all this stuff. In fact, I've been doing that for a long time. I'm an early adopter. I buy in often on series generation 2 stuff. I should probably deduct that stuff as professional expenses. It all arguably is, but I really got to be there. It's all about the I/O, the input-output devices. It's all about, the way we do input and output with the machines and devices around us, the way it seamlessly works into our lives, both in our pockets in the form of our phones, and increasingly other places which are sometimes just data collection points. The older Fitbits that didn't have that much display. There's this whole sensory world coming online, and what is a person to do who just wants to maintain their career and stay relevant and always know how to provide expert advice, correct expert advice, and be able to apply it to myself. So, I'm a big believer in, if you're going to talk the talk, you better be able to walk the walk. So I do little things like remix my own tiny versions of Linux. So tiny virtual Linux server, things like that will often lead people to me, because you got to dominate something. You got to be there. You got to have, your hat in the ring. And so, right now I'm competing against another Mike Levin, who's running for Congress in California, against one of the richest, I forget if it's a senator or a congressman, but representative. One of the richest ones this Mike Levin is running against, so it's hard to perform well against him in the search engines right now. That will change. The pendulum always swings both ways. But generic keywords, I know how to give people their first taste of Linux really easily. Interestingly, one of my most popular videos in YouTube right now, my most popular by far, is how to remove your finger. Can't even show it to you now the way I'm shooting this camera. But it was one of the quickest, most casual videos I did, and now it is replacing the line slope of the Raspberry Pi unboxing from 2012 that's finally fading away in popularity as my primary traffic driver. And this line of how to remove your finger, the removable finger trick. One of the few things that I just slammed out quick, but actually did search optimize. Thought about where the traffic was, and lo and behold, the video views are going up, and it has an article associated with it. It is embedded onto a page that is also optimized on the same keywords, which actually has a genuine story behind it, because my mailman, who is the father of a friend, taught me this trick. And I've thought about him often over the years. I've stayed in touch with his daughter over Facebook, and it's one of these genuine things. I teach every kid who shows interest how to do it, and now it's one of my big traffic drivers. So content that lets newcomers to a field, a situation, an area of interest, to just try something and have an immediate success is part of the formula. It's going to be part of my formula. I got to play up and do more of those things, at least in proportion to these streaming train of thought videos that I do because I commute. Because these other things are like those Seinfeld moments in life. They're about nothing, but they hold this very big meaning in your life and in other people's lives, and it strikes a chord with you, and it has a low barrier to entry for trying yourself and enlivening your life, and perhaps teaching others how to do it and have it spread. So a very easy to absorb, elevator pitch about a commonality in our lives that many but not all of us experience that has special meaning that you haven't thought about in that precise way before, that you capture it while the capturing is good. You put it out there on the appropriate media channel, you rinse and repeat, and over time you kind of see patterns emerge. You see what people are interested in, and you do the righteous feedback loop that is the field of SEO. So I keep, an iron in many different fires. Twitter, here on YouTube, podcasting in the iTunes store that I did recently. I don't know how committed I'll stay to that, because these rambling talks are much more interesting with New York City around me than what comes off as just low audio production quality in podcast format, where people are used to their NPR radio pieces. So different mediums have different, vibes going on, different, types of audiences. And if it's all about audience building, right? Because at the end of the day, so many topics here. At the end of the day, if you're helping the people who are offsetting the cost of cool media and cool hardware by helping their advertisements get broader reach in the media deal that brings down the cost of cool things for the common person, improves the quality of life of people in general, at the mere cost of a little bit of maybe, I don't know, whatever marketing's accused of these days, privacy violations, giving up a bit of your personal freedoms, and that cameras are everywhere these days. Here in New York City, I probably pass, a dozen every block. No joke. So, we're totally here. Oh, and data nodes, mysterious data nodes for those people who follow person of interest. Those boxes are there. So stop and look, be observant. Even when you're being a sheep, taking advantage of, getting the benefits of privacy violating advertising offset hardware and ecosystems, enjoy it. We're living at a higher quality of living than human beings have at any time in history. No matter how pessimistic people like to cry about the exact current political state. Humanity has gotten through what's called filter events that were much, much worse than what we have right now today, although there were close calls. The Cuban Missile Crisis, there were times, but we got through the events that wound down World War II, the rise of fascism. Humanity gets what it deserves. And right now we have I know there's always exceptions, and the edge cases suck about, happiness and freedom and the ability to live without suffering around the planet. There are bad situations. But on the whole, humanity's going in a pretty good direction, and people should be glad and feel privileged to be alive in this particular time in history. We are in the early chapters of sci-fi. We are in iRobot Book 1, short story 1 of the way it's actually playing out. And a lot's going to happen in our lifetimes, and even more in our kids' lifetimes. And for the lack of the cornucopia of filter events, they're going to see some pretty amazing days ahead of them, and they have to be ready for it. So I guess that's the other side of all this stuff I'm doing, talking about my professional stuff, keeping myself relevant, but also transferring what advice I can to my daughter through these, most impressionable years of 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. What does daddy do? Well, daddy does this thing that helps all these people get over this artificial barrier that's keeping them from being more capable individuals, because they don't think they're technical and can't make the transition when they totally can. So that's my pitch. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe and forward this video link to someone you think should be following along.